Joe Biden, not doing too well. His poll numbers, his approval numbers continue to tank. But there was a recent poll that came out by Quinnipiac, and they list key demographics that I think we should all pay close attention to. So let's go ahead and share that. Okay. Now, this poll was released June 22nd. So that was just a couple of days ago. And there's some key numbers I want to focus on here. Let me scroll down. And by the way, if you're looking for this poll, this is not listed as a website, actually. Like, it was a link. I clicked on the link and it told me to download this. So I actually downloaded this, just letting you know. President Biden. Americans give President Joe Biden a negative 33 to 57% job approval rating, with 10% not offering an opinion. Those poor folks, those poor 10%, they are probably like, what the hell is going on around here? Biden's 33% job approval among Americans ties the low that he has received in 3 previous Quinnipiac University national polls. Okay. Registered voters give President Biden a negative 35 to 58% job approval rating, with 7% not offering an opinion. Biden's 35% job approval among registered voters ties the low that he has received in 3 previous Quinnipiac University polls. Americans were asked about Biden's handling of, let me go in a little bit larger. Boopity boop. Let me scroll over here. Americans were asked about Biden's handling of the response to the pandemic. 50% approve, while 44% disapprove. The response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, 40% approve, while 51% disapprove. So this is important to note, you guys. The majority of Americans that were polled, I got to add that part, that were polled, disagree with the way that Joe Biden has handled Russia-Ukraine. Well. What do you know? The economy, 32% approve, while 62% disapprove. I'm willing to bet part of that 32% that approves of the economy is probably people who are pretty well off financially, wouldn't you say? It's probably people that are not as infected by the inflation that we have right now, people that can manage, that can get by. Gun violence, 31% approve, 57% disapprove. And remember, Joe Biden gave more money to the police. Just goes back to what we've said before. Police don't really stop crime, don't really prevent crime. So that's that. Abortion. Here comes this one. Now, this is when they were still awaiting the decision. As the nation awaits a major abortion ruling by the Supreme Court, this was right before they made the decision, registered voters agree 61 to 33. Now I got to go back out again. 61 to 33% with the 1973 Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision that established a woman's right to an abortion. So again, the majority of Americans agree with the original Supreme Court decision. That's important for people to know. I also want to add that is not just people who are Democrats. That includes Democrats, independents, and Republicans, and people who are, may not be invested in politics per se. But that's not just Democrats. I had to say that because I think a lot of times people think that the only people that are against abortion are people who are Republican, or people think that the only people that are for it are Democrats. That's not necessarily true. It goes on. In a Quinnipiac University polling trends among registered voters on this question dating back to 2005, The lowest level of agreement with Roe v. Wade was in 2010 when 60% agreed and 35% disagreed. The highest level of agreement was in January 27th, 2017 poll when 70% agreed and 26% disagreed. So that's interesting. More people agreed with Roe v. Wade in 2017 than they do today. It doesn't explain why there was a decrease, but that's something I think that you should know. Now, let's go to this chart here. This is what I want you to really pay attention to. Question number 1, do you approve or disapprove of the way Joe Biden is handling his job as president? So here we go. The total column is first. Next, you have Republicans, Democrats, independents, men, women, and then this is the college degree. 4-year college degree, yes or no. Let's break this down. 33%, only 33% approve of the way that Joe Biden is handling his job as president. Only 33%. And by the way, remember, this is right before the Supreme Court decision. Right before it. So I'm interested to see the next poll. Because Joe Biden already said he doesn't want to end the filibuster, which everyone else that's trying to, quote unquote, protect women's rights in DC said that needs to happen. Joe Biden doesn't want to do that because Joe Biden not really trying to protect women's rights. Joe Biden's just trying to get paid and keep the status quo. 33% approve. Disapprove. 57% disapprove of Joe Biden's job as president, the way he's handling that job. And then there's 10% that said, look, we don't know or not applicable. So let's look at Republicans. 7% of Republicans approve. 89% disapprove. 3 are just like, dude, I don't know. Democrats, 80% approve, 12% disapprove, 8% don't know. This is the metric here I want you to pay close attention to. Independents, 25% approve, 62% disapprove of the way Joe Biden is handling his job as president. And that is a huge problem for the Democrats because you have to remember Joe Biden was able to win Arizona because of the independent vote. That's probably not going to happen next time around. So if 62% of them disapprove of what Joe Biden is doing, he is going to struggle to get that same independent vote for 2024, unless something drastically changes, which it's him, so I doubt it. That's scary. When I reported this last summer, the disapproval that he had from independents was about in the 30s. It was about 35%. That has dropped all the way down. It's now 62%. This ship is sinking and everybody's jumping off of it except for Joe. Joe's going to ride this ship into the bottom of the ocean. He's going to go right down with it. There's another metric I want you to pay attention to. And by the way, 13% don't know. Okay. Men, 27% of men approve of Joe Biden's job as president. 62% disapprove. 11% just don't know. Just don't know. Now, this is interesting. Women, 39% of women approve of Joe Biden's job as president. 52% disapprove. 9 don't know. More women approve of Joe Biden's handling as president than men. However, I want you to remember that is before that ruling came out from the Supreme Court. So that's why I said I want to check this back again now that that ruling has been released. College degree, 4-year college degree. 43% of Americans that have a bachelor's degree approve of what Joe Biden is doing. 43%. 50% disapprove. 6% don't know. For Americans that do not have a bachelor's degree, 24% approve. 68% disapprove and 8% don't know. Now, why is this significant? Why is it that the Americans that have a bachelor's degree, why is their approval higher than the Americans that do not have a bachelor's degree? Why? Because 9 times out of 10, the Americans that have a bachelor's degree are probably making more money. 9 times out of 10, they probably have a higher income. When you're comparing them to Americans that do not have a 4-year degree. 9 times out of 10 is not always the case, but 9 times out of 10, they're probably making more money. So this is a class issue. Again, the people who are doing pretty well off financially versus the people who are struggling. I hope everybody sees the difference. Now I want to get into the age demographic. Let's look at the age groups. First, we have 18 to 34, ages 35 to 49, 50 to 64, 65 up. And then men, women, white, black, Hispanic. So when it comes to this age group, ages 18 to 34, only 25% approve of Joe Biden's job, of him handling his job as the president. Only 25%. And this is something I've been trying to tell people before, that the younger generation, again, these were my students, that age group, maybe not the 30 part, but this was the age group of students that I worked with. And this is what I've been trying to tell people. The younger people are not happy because they are struggling the most financially. They have high student loan debt. Some of them have medical debt. They're not paid what they should be paid when you adjust for inflation. And that was before this current inflation. They can't buy homes. They can't get married. They can't start families. This is the group that people need to pay closer attention to, which they usually don't. They focus a lot more on people age 65 and up because that's the population that usually heavily goes out to vote. But mark my words, they should really pay attention to this age group 18 to 34. I can understand if it was 18 to 24, 18 to 25, but now you're getting into the 30s. These are the people that are suffering with high student loan debt. 25% is bad. Like, this is really bad. And it doesn't get that much better from there. Watch this. So 55% of them disapprove and 20% don't know. Ages 35 to 49. This one is also concerning. Ages 35 to 49, 33% approve. 56% disapprove. 11% don't know. Even for that age group, 35 to 49, 33% is still, that's sad. That's sad. Because see, now you're going into the millennials. You got some Gen Xers in there. So you got Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X. They are not happy with what Joe Biden is doing. Ages 50 to 64. Oh, and again, these are the age groups. The Gen Z, millennial, and Gen X, these are the ones that are more likely to have a lot of student loan debt. Ages 50 to 64, only 35% approve. Now you're getting into my parents' age group. Only they approve, only 35% of them approve. And I can go ahead and tell you, you can go ahead and add my parents to that list because they do not approve. Had many conversations with them about that. Disapprove, 61% disapprove. 4% don't know. However, typically with politicians, they tend to focus more so on the 65 and up group because they're the ones more likely to come out and vote. 43% approve, 53% disapprove, 4% don't know. Either way, when you look at all of the age groups, the majority of people disapprove. That includes the booms. I said I'm gonna stop calling them boomers. My dad don't like that too much. So the booms. Now, men. Or is it? Yeah, men. How did I get to? Oh, okay. Racist. Okay. So white men, 24% approve. 69% disapprove. 7% don't know. Women, white women, 38% approve. Again, notice the women percentage is higher than the men. 55% disapprove. 8% don't know. Then we go to key racial demographics. And this is all together. So for white Americans, 31% approve, 62% disapprove, 7% don't know. When we look at Black Americans, 59% approve. And that may look like a high number to you, but when it comes to the Democratic Party, having 59% of African Americans approve, that is not good for you coming into the midterms or going into 2024. If that number does not increase, Democrats are in big trouble. You have to remember last year at one point, it was like 80% African Americans approved of the job Joe Biden was doing. He's dropped all the way down to 59% of African Americans. And without the African American vote, the Democratic Party cannot win. The candidate cannot win. So there's that. 31% disapprove. So that's important to remember. 59% for African Americans, that's not high in reference to the Democrat candidate. 10% don't know. For the Hispanic demographic, 29% approve, 53% disapprove, and 17% don't know. Now, there is something I want to point out. If you look at people of color and you see African Americans and Hispanic Americans, this goes to show you how propagandized African Americans are in this country to keep voting Democrat. And the reason why I say that, Hispanic Americans approve, only 29% approve. White Americans, only 31% approve. And you come here to African Americans and 59% approve. And even though that's low for African Americans supporting the Democratic Party, out of all the racial groups, African Americans have the highest percentage of approval for Joe Biden, which means that Black Americans have been carrying these Democrat candidates over the edge. We've been the ones putting them through. And this is why I tell you, if we were to say, look, we're not voting for Dems anymore, which I've already told you, if more of us were to do that, we really could have an impact. This is what I've been trying to show people. We could really make a difference. Now, why do we still have 59% approval and white people have 31% and Hispanic population has 29%? Why are we still up that high to 59%? Why? Propaganda. Mainstream media propaganda. Propaganda from the Black church. Propaganda from the schools. Propaganda from former civil rights leaders who also spew propaganda on mainstream media outlets. People like Al Sharpton. That's why. So the more we are willing to turn off mainstream media, start doing our own research, stop allowing ourselves to be brainwashed by listening to Al Sharpton. He is not the Al Sharpton of the 1960s. He's not the same. Some of those civil rights activists and civil rights leaders embraced neoliberalism and they sold out. They're just trying to get their bag. Al just trying to get paid. So we have to get rid of the propaganda in order to really make a difference. Because what I would like to see, I would like for this number that's 59%, I would like for this to be at the 29% along with the Hispanic population. Show this to as many people as possible. It is the African American group that is carrying these Democrat candidates over the finish line. So in order for something to change, we need to really change that ourselves. Because if you cut that any further, we can make a big difference. Do you see what I'm saying? So the Democratic Party, they say they're going to do things for the Black community. They never do. But we keep giving them our support. We are the ones who are helping them win. But they don't help us win. There's more numbers here. I can't go through all of them for the sake of time. But show this to as many people as possible. Show that to as many people as possible. There was a question in the chat. I saw it come up. Do you know if more Black men than women vote Democrat? More Black women, especially this last, the 2020 election. And we're the ones that have the most student loan debt. You see what I mean? Where would Biden be without us? Where would these Democrat candidates be without us? I'm going to go to some of the comments in the chat. Andrew, I already made my predictions for the 2022 election. Senate, Democrats 43, Republicans 57, House 173, Republicans 262. Ooh, someone should screenshot this. I wonder if that'll happen, Andrew. Bart says, I love how Sabby does real research and fact digging and shares her sources with us. Thank you, Bart. I had to write a lot of research papers in grad school, Bart. That's where that comes from. I had to go through a lot of sources. Yasmin, ugh, we need to educate our elders. That's right. And Juliet, gotta leave the duopoly. 100% agreed. That can make a real change. Now, since Joe Biden is struggling here and is not doing well, you know that the Dems are going to try to do what they can to make things work out for Joe Biden. And now that's exactly what they're already starting to do. Case in point, Michigan. You got to see this from the New York Times. You got to see it. Now, this is from Josh Cruchar. I hope I pronounced his name correct. Anyway, on Twitter, he's at Hotline Josh. At Hotline Josh. You used to call me on my cell phone. Josh is on the hotline. All right. New York Times, senior Democrats are considering moving up Michigan on the primary calendar, a critical general election state where the president has a number of allies in labor and elected office. They're already starting. Already. Let's see if it'll let me. New York Times is funny sometimes. It lets me, sometimes it. Okay. Biden irked by Democrats who won't take yes for an answer on 2024. Well. So here we go. There's Joe Manchin, of course. You know, he had to make his appearance. Yada, yada, yada. These articles sometimes are so long. I forgot to highlight. Here we go. The president has made clear he wants a primary calendar that better reflects the party's racial diversity, all but assuring the demise of the first in the nation status for the Iowa, which was hostile to Mr. Biden in his last two presidential bids. Senior Democrats are considering moving up Michigan, a critical general election state where the president has a number of allies in labor and elected office. You see how they play these little tricks? Somebody page Rome and let him know they're trying to move up his state. This is what they do to win. They know they can't do it fair and square, right? So they have to do these little tricks behind the scenes. And I'm telling you guys, so if you hear about this later on, you can say you saw it first here. It's June. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. They're already talking about moving states up in the primary election. They're so cruddy. They're so cruddy. The DNC has been quietly preparing for the president's reelection by pouring money and staff into 8 battleground states that happen to have an important midterm election, an effort that began in the spring of last year. Biden has also accelerated his fundraising, holding a pair of events for the committee in June that brought in $5 million, while also spending more time on Zoom sessions courting individual contributors. See, this is all they're doing. Fundraising. The president has moved to consolidate his hold on the DNC, and not just by sending Mr. Richmond to the committee. Mr. Biden has also shifted both his social media assets and his lucrative fundraising list to the party, which has made the committee largely reliant on those channels for their contributions. This is who they care about. They don't care about us. But the point that I wanted to make with that is to show you they're at it again. Didn't take them long. I want to make sure I get these comments here. Thank you for the super chat, Justin B. Dems are tanking in approval. That's why they are trying to ask people that signed for Green Party candidate Matt Ho to take back their signatures. Something is rotten in North Carolina. They are scared. Yes. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen this as well, that they're trying to get people to remove their signature for Matthew Ho, because Matthew Ho he got the signatures that he needs to get on the ballot. And now they're trying to do some trickery or whatever. It's so corrupt. Delthea Simmons says something has been rotten in NC for a long time. And thank you for the super chat, Andrew. Did it say anything about Biden's approval among the Asian and Indian communities? I did not see that in that chart. Interesting how they didn't put them in there. That is weird. Very interesting.